Hey everyone, it's Life, Liberty, and Pursuit back with another short video. And I think you could probably tell by the thumbnail that today's topic is heaven and hell. And some people might be thinking, why did you choose this topic? And to tell you the truth, it's just because it's something that I find it's been very useful to me, this idea. And I think that this is something that can benefit a lot of people if they understand it in context or just understand it the way that I understand it, right? So, first, I want to start by saying that I know that this is a controversial topic, that, religious people and atheists don't agree on this. Like, the religious people think their definition is the right definition, the only definition, and the atheists believe that it's just a type of social control that the church has implemented to keep the peasants in line, basically, right? So, be good or you burn in hell. But I'm going to try and circumvent that whole drama because that's not what I want to talk about, or that's not how I've come to understand these two concepts. And hopefully, you can get something useful out of just the way that I think about these concepts and how the way that I've come to understand them, right? So, first, the common definition or the common understanding of heaven and hell is that they're basically places where you go after you're dead, right? So, you've lived your life on earth, bam, you died, you end up in line to determine whether you're going to heaven or hell. The good people go to heaven, the bad people go to hell. Heaven is everything you ever wanted. Hell is pain, suffering, fire, and brimstone, right? And then basically, once you're through the line, there's some divine being, whether it's the Abrahamic God or some other God of some other religion, or maybe a couple gods. They're all sitting on a tribunal. I don't know, like whatever. They're sitting there and there's like, nah, you're not getting in. Or, yeah, go for it. It's kind of like a waiting in line to go get into the club, right? Maybe, depending on you get in there and the bouncer says, "Nope, not coming in," then okay, you're gonna go in and hang out in hell for a while, right? So that's basically the the unnuanced definition of or common definition of heaven and hell. And maybe there's some better nuanced definitions and maybe there's not. I'm not an expert on definitions of heaven and hell. Those are just basically how I've come to understand it, right? So anyways, the problem with this common understanding of heaven and hell, or this common belief in heaven and hell, or this common description of heaven and hell, is that one, what happens after you die is really of no use to you while you're alive. This is something that I've believed for a long time. That speculation on what happens after that point where the energy, or you stop breathing, you're brain dead, and you start decomposing. Whatever happens after that will do you no good while you're not decomposing. So why don't so yeah, so basically that's one major problem with this whole concept of heaven and hell. And then there's the thing that it really there's a lot of gray area between what is good and evil. So there is no objectively good or evil things. Well, okay, that's I don't. So there might be some objectively good or evil things, but we have a lot of disagreement on what is that point in between what is good and evil, right? So, and even the philosophers couldn't come to a set. They can't judge every situation, right? Because a lot of stuff might be contextually based or whatnot. Anyways, and then this whole thing about the requirements to get into heaven being based on whatever religion you're on. I mean, come on, man. Like, if you go through your entire life one religion and you're being really, really good according to this religion, and then you start to decompose and you find yourself in this line, and at the end of the line, they're like, "Well, you were on the wrong team." That's really unfortunate. Like, that doesn't. What the heck? That's not fun. That's not right, in my opinion. That's not fair. That wouldn't be good. So, yeah, so that's problematic. And then the whole idea of divine judgment, in my opinion, is kind of self or disempowering. So it takes away your responsibility, self, well, I guess accountability in a way, or it's disempowering because if you're the end of everything, if whether you go to heaven or hell is dependent on somebody else's decision or somebody else's judgment of your actions, then it's like yeah, it's really disempowering in my opinion, and it doesn't do you any good. because it doesn't allow you to do anything to improve the situation, in my opinion. Anyway, so a better definition would, and the definition that I've come to understand that has been really useful in my life, kind of throws out that whole common understanding of heaven and hell. And so basically, it gets rid of all of the junk about afterlife because afterlife will do you no good and focusing on it will do you no good. So just get rid of all of the whole afterlife stuff, put that on a shelf somewhere for after your life. You can get back to it when you're dead, and let's focus on while you're alive. And so that brings us to heaven and hell that exists here and now. So basically, the concept is that heaven and hell exist here and now, and it's completely independent of the state of objective reality. And what that means is basically it doesn't matter whether you're the richest man on the planet, or you're a famous superstar, or you're a guy living in his mom's basement, or you're strung out on crack on the streets of some hardcore street, of some hardcore city. Doesn't matter. Whether you're in heaven and hell is completely um, independent of those states, right? Because heaven and hell are in in reality a state of mind. So basically, you could be have two people in the same situation at the exact same time, looking at the exact same objective reality, and one can be in heaven and one can be in hell because it's completely subjective. It's completely based on their state of mind in that moment. And so your heaven or your hell really depends on your state of mind. And the thing is that in anyone's lifetime, they will find themselves in both states of heaven and hell. And it, it's not a continual thing. It's like, okay, I made it to heaven. So now I'm in heaven for the rest of my life. No. Throughout your life, you're going to go through phases of being in heaven. You're going to go through phases of being in hell. And then I guess you'll go through phases of being in purgatory, which is kind of like in between both, right? It's like not good, I'm not bad, but it's all a state of your mind at the moment. And so then if you accept this definition and you can work with this definition, the benefits is that it gives you a lot of control over it, it gives you a lot of control over your existence, and it gives you a very clear and simple way to determine whether your actions are good or evil. Because if you're taking an action or you're making choices towards these actions that repeatedly land you in hell, like you're these actions result in you being in a state of hell, a mental state of hell, well, then you can objectively say that these are bad actions. These are evil actions because they result in you going to hell, right? They result in you being in this hellish landscape or hellish state of mind. On the inverse, if your actions lead you to a state of heaven or a heavenly state of bliss or happiness or fulfillment, those are objectively good. So it's not it's not up to somebody else's divine judgment whether what you're doing is good or bad. It's up to your own experience to determine what those actions were, whether those actions led you to the right place or not. And so, yeah, so that I think that's a very useful definition. It's been very useful to me in my life. So whenever I'm doing something that causes me pain and suffering, it I just stop doing that because I don't want to be in pain and suffering. And that's kind of it. Just has to be I just have to caveat that a bit. Not all suffering is bad, in my opinion. Like some suffering leads to heaven, so that's good to know. Like sometimes when you're like exercise, nobody likes to exercise. Everybody hates to exercise. Honestly, like maybe there's some people that okay, some people like to exercise. I personally do not like exercise. Not because it's I just feel like I'm wasting time when I'm doing it. Like I pick up a heavy thing, I put down a heavy thing, I pick up a heavy thing, or I walk in the same place on a treadmill for whatever. But nobody likes to do it. And you smell after you're done, you're sweaty, and it's just not fun. But after doing it enough times, it the effects that it has on your body result in a higher mental state, a better mental state. So it's a type of suffering that results in you going to heaven. So yeah. Anyways, so that's a whole tangent that I should probably cut out of the video, but I'm not going to because these are 100% unedited content at the moment. Anyways, and so how can we use this? Getting back to the whole to this definition, how can we use this to make our lives better? So the first thing that you can do is pay attention to what your state of mind. Like when you're in hell, just recognizing that you're in hell and that hell is simply a state of mind is so powerful. Like you can get yourself out of hell really quick just just by recognizing that you are in hell to begin with. That the state of mind that you're in is a hellish landscape, and that it's completely based on the state of mind. Right. So that's the first one. Is paying attention to your state of mind is so important. And then also when you're in heaven, like just I think you can enjoy it deeper if you recognize it, you know. And also so reference your actions, what you're doing and what the state of mind that it's producing. If you pay attention to that, then you can find your way through what actions will get you to where you want to be, which is hopefully in a state of heavenly bliss, right? And happiness. And then another one is attention. So your state of mind is really determined by what you're paying attention to. So if you're paying attention to negative the negative aspects of your existence or at any given point, if you're paying attention to the negative things, then you're going to push yourself into hell, you know, like even if you have the perfect life, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with where you're at. If you spend your time focusing on the negative aspects of your existence, then you're going to end up in a negative state of mind, which will ultimately be your pain and suffering, right? Your hell on earth. So a better approach, in my opinion, would be first to recognize when you have these states, when your attention is focused on the negative, and then shift that focus from the negative aspect of it to the solution, because solutions are positive. You know, like for instance, a current situation or a current issue that I have is that I've gotten a dad bod because I'm 42. I don't work out very much, as you've heard. I don't, you know. Um, and so one of the things that comes with a dad bod is that you got a lot of you feel heavy, you feel groggy, you don't really want to move very much. And so that those are all negative states that I could focus on. Oh man, I just feel like crap right now. My body is heavy, you know, I'm fat, whatever. I could focus on these negative states and allow myself into heaven or allow myself into hell. Or I can switch my attention and be like, okay, so I've got a dad bod. What's the solution to getting past the dad bod, right? So what's the solution to fixing that problem? And focusing on that problem actually gives me a goal. And goals are so helpful. Like they're so powerful of getting you out of hell because, or even purgatory, right? Like when you have nothing to do, I'd say boredom is a state of purgatory. But yeah. So having a goal is so powerful in moving you towards where you need to go. You know, to get in a heavenly state or a blissful state, a state of happiness. You know. So anyways, I hope that that definition helps. If you agree, if you disagree, if you think I'm crazy, or you got advice for me on how to make this a better channel or make better videos, I would really appreciate it. If you left a comment below, say hi, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate your time and attention. Thanks. Have a good one.